Be a part of the conversation.
I listen on the way to work.
Have your say.
It's more than just opinions, it's facts.
This is WSIC News Talk Now.
Good morning, Cornelius and Lake Norman. This is Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam, and it's a pleasure to be back with you today on About Town. We've got a great show today. We always have great shows and interesting people, but my senior guest this day, this beautiful day, beautiful fall day here in Cornelius, is the Cornelius Fire Department. I should say the correct name, the Cornelius-Lemley Fire Department Chief, Guerry Barbee. Welcome, Mr. Barbee.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you, Chief. And also with us today to help us along through this program and help us make some townwide announcements is Maylin Joyner, who is our Communications Manager. Welcome, Maylin.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So great to have you as well. So always welcome you to be a part of the show when you have time. Busy lady there. So, Chief, you've been a fireman for a long time. Give us a little history. Tell us a little bit about you first.
All right. So, Cornelius, born and bred, lived here my entire life.
Another local. There's not many of us.
There's not many of us around. No, sir.
Right.
So I grew up on Zion Street in Cornelius. I lived there my entire life till moved out of mom and dad's house. I joined the fire department when I was 16 years old as a junior fireman. Back then it was a 100% completely volunteer fire department. Still in high school, still working at the soda shop in Davison, but would do some training with the guys at the fire department. My dad joined the fire department in 1985. My grandfather had been a fireman years before that. So I kind of grew up in the fire station.
Gotcha.
We'd go up there and hang out on the weekends. Friday night, that was kind of the hangout spot a long time ago. So grew up in the fire service, fell in love with it. I've got a good friend of mine from second grade on. She said, I'm the only guy she knew that knew what he wanted to do in the second grade. So I knew what my career path was going to be as a second grader. So
exactly. Well, this fire department has come a really, really long ways, and we're going to try to tell folks today the progress of the times here, if you will. So I can remember my dad was one of the founders of the Cornelius Fire Department, volunteer fire department, and that's truly what they were, 100% volunteer town citizens.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they were. And I can remember outside of my home that I grew up in on Church Street, there was a big siren up on a telephone pole that went off all times of the day and night. And when that happened, my dad threw his clothes on, jumped in his truck, and off he went.
Oh, yeah.
To help fight those fires. Not much training, but just a lot of experience. So we have come from that point to a very sophisticated fire department over time, over those many years. So it's pretty incredible where it got its roots. I've seen some of the older pictures and remember some of the older fire trucks, and even equipment and technology has changed quite a bit as we have pressed forward. So you got the fighter business in your blood. It really sounds like it. So you indicated you started as a volunteer in Cornelius.
Right.
Well, tell us about your profession and what you do as a profession, because that sounds interesting, and it's part of our story as to how we evolved in our own fire department here in town.
Right. So in the year 2000, I was fortunate enough to be hired by the city of Charlotte as a firefighter. So March 1st of 2000, I started with them. Have been fortunate enough to rise through the ranks throughout my career. I've done almost 20 years on the west side of Charlotte. My fire station is number 18, right in front of West Charlotte High School.
Have you always been there?
I've been there since '03.
Wow.
I got promoted to captain in 2015. I left for 2 years and was fortunate enough to get back in 2017. So I've been there for a long time. A very busy firehouse. I've been fortunate enough to ride on an engine company and a ladder company. Currently assigned to the engine as a captain of Engine 18 on C shift. So very busy fire station. surrounded by a bunch of great firefighters that with a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of experience. It's been really makes my job easy there. But yeah, it's been a great career so far.
And how many years has that been?
20, coming up on 24, well, 23 now. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so all that time, all those 23 years plus, you were a volunteer in addition to your work schedule in Charlotte with
Correct.
the Cornelius Fire Department?
Yep.
Have you ever moved or lived anywhere but Cornelius?
No.
Well, I haven't either, so
Yeah, right.
we got that in common for sure.
Right.
I think you live down right beside the house I grew up in.
I do. I live directly next door to the house that you grew up in.
That makes us almost blood
That's
brothers
right.
here.
That's right.
Almost. So what was being a volunteer back in the day like? What did you do? Did you just hang out at the fire station, or just wait for the calls to come in?
So once I graduated high school, I went to school for a little bit at UNCC, but I lived at home. I was a commuter, so I couldn't wait to get to the fire station in the afternoon. We used to call it 4:00 BS hour. You can't say that on the radio, but everybody would come after work or whatever and just hang out at the fire station in the afternoons, just hang out. And if there was a call to be ran, we would run the call, maybe do some training every now and then. But in those early days, it was 100% volunteer. So just like you said earlier, you still had the siren that went off at the fire station. By this time, we had some, if you remember the pagers that you wore on your hip, the alpha pagers. We were big time when we got the alpha pagers. Like they would send you the call, and you would have the address on your little pager. You would know exactly where to go. So that was a big change in the late 90s. In 97, we started running EMS first response calls. I don't know if you remember North Mecklenburg Rescue Squad.
I do. Yes, I do.
The population in the north end of the county was, I would venture to say, less than 30,000 in the late 90s between all three towns. North Mecklenburg Rescue Squad was stationed in Huntersville, and they basically ran everything from Harris Boulevard north. They did a wonderful job for many years, but as the population grew, the calls for service grew, and the Cornelius Fire Department thought that we could provide a better service because we were local, we were in the town, we could get there quicker and provide better service. So July 1st of 2000, we started running EMS first responder, and in the first 5 days of July, we ran 35 calls, and we thought, man, we've really messed up. Like, we went from running 300 calls a year, and then we ran like 35 calls in 5 days, and we were really thinking, man, we've really screwed up here.
Exactly.
But we did it. The transition went really well. We still worked hand in hand with North Met Rescue. They still were running EMS calls in Davidson, so we would work with them on the interstates and all that. But no, it's been a great job. It in 2000, because of the increased call volume, we decided that we needed to put some part-time paid people on during the day because during the weekdays, people had to leave and come from home to answer calls, and we just needed somebody to be at the fire station all the time.
Exactly. A great history, and we're going to get back to Chief Barbee in just a minute and have him tell some of the great stories that he's experienced over the years. This is Mayor Woody Washam, Cornelius Mayor. We'll be back in just a minute.
More About Town with Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam is coming up on the new 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Enjoy exploring the many musical talents of others? Kane Center for the Arts in Cornelius is hosting the LKN Songwriters Showcase this Saturday. Davidson Mayor Rusty Knox will be among the performers. The LKN Songwriter Showcase this Saturday. For more info, visit canearts.org. That's CAIN arts.org. Less than 2 weeks until Huntersville Hay Day, the sesquicentennial celebration for the town of Huntersville. Saturday, September 23rd from 2 until 8 p.m. at Huntersville Athletic Park. Come celebrate Huntersville's 150th birthday, Saturday, September 23rd. For more info, visit huntersville.org. Not much time left for apple picking at Kerrigan Farms. The apple picking at Kerrigan Farms is a very short window. Apple picking will end September 30th. Apple picking at Kerrigan Farms, only in September. Book your experience now at kerriganfarms.com. That's kerriganfarms.com. Have an event you would like to tell people about? Yard sales, estate sales, and everything in between? Visit WSICnews.com and click on events to submit your event today.
The Renaissance Festival is back! Saturdays and Sundays, September 30th through November 19th. A non-stop outdoor family adventure. Huzzah! Tickets available online only at renfestinfo.com while supplies last.
Mention the Renaissance Festival and receive discount hotel accommodations at Hampton Inn and Suites, Huntersville and Lake Norman. Huzzah!
And now a look at your weather forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. It's going to be a beautiful Thursday out there today. Mostly sunny skies. Your afternoon high nearing 80 degrees. As we head into the afternoon and evening hour, we will still be looking at mostly clear conditions with the overnight low dropping to around 58. This is your weather report from the WSIC Weather Center.
Now more About Town with Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam on the new 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Good morning, everyone, again, and we're back with About Town. This is Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam, and I'm here with a couple special guests, Fire Chief Guerry Barbee and our Communications Manager, Maylin Joyner. So welcome back, guys. And, you know, we were having a lot of fun reminiscing on some of the rich, rich history. Our town's just rich in history everywhere you turn, but this fire department is certainly part of our story, and something that I'm really proud of. I know you've had some experiences, Chief, along the way, and got so many stories to tell about interesting things. You guys end up in all kinds of situations. So tell me your favorite story about a situation with a Cornelius resident, preferably, that will make us all laugh. I know you got some.
There are plenty. I don't know.
Some you probably can't tell.
Exactly. That's where I was going with that. I did just, Maylin and I were talking a minute ago. There was a former town of Cornelius employee that I knew very well, called us one time, for the proverbial, cat in a tree. And I told Bill, I said, Bill, like, we're not going to be able to get the cat out of the tree. If you go up there, the cat's just going to run further up in the tree. And he told me, he said, Gary, you just got to come over here. So we go over there and look up, and this cat's about 60 to 80 feet up in a tree. And I said, Bill, I don't have a ladder that can reach that high unless it's the ladder on the truck. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, bring it down here. I said, I'm not putting this ladder truck in your driveway. It's going to break your driveway up. 4 inches of cement is not gonna hold that big ladder truck. And he said, man, you gotta try. I said, Bill, we're not doing it. I told him, have you ever seen a cat skeleton in a tree? And he said, no. I said, that cat will come down when it gets hungry. So I saw Bill about a month later at Big Bites, and he said, boy, that cat died in that tree. I said, man, I'm sorry. That's all I could say.
Oh, I know.
Did get hungry enough?
I guess not.
The cat in the tree.
I guess not.
Back in the day, I bet you guys used to recruit a lot of your volunteer firemen, probably up there at the Tree of Knowledge. So do you remember that Tree of Knowledge in our town?
So it had been replaced by the gas station parking lot.
Yes.
In my years, but yes, there were plenty of people that came from the Cashins parking lot back in the day that were active in the volunteer fire service in the entire north end of the county. Yep.
I'm telling you, our town had so many personalities over the many years, and I just need to write a book one day.
Oh,
I think, and maybe you could help me do that. So yeah. It's a great experience. So our fire service here in our town, our you're one of our first responders here
Mhm.
with medical emergencies as well as fires. So how has that evolved over time? I know back in the early days we were a town of, I don't know, 1,400 people, and
Mhm.
now we're much bigger with different kinds of structures now.
Oh,
So
yeah.
so tell us how that's gradually changed over time, particularly here in our town, but really all over
Oh,
your
yeah.
experience.
So I mean, as you know, the town was founded on the cotton mill, and a lot of the houses in town were either your small ranch style houses, or they were the mill style houses around centered downtown center Cornelius. Over the years, we've gone from your 1,500 square foot ranch style house to 20 and 30,000 houses or square foot houses on the water. That poses a totally different fire problem for the fire department.
That's about the size of an office building, isn't it?
Absolutely, it is. It's the size of a commercial building, and the unfortunate side of that is there are no fire codes that address thousands of square feet in a single family residential. So if it's a single family house, they can build a 20 or 30,000 square foot house, and they don't have to provide the same fire protection as a commercial building or an apartment building. Just the way the fire code's written. So they're extremely dangerous for us because at an apartment building you typically know the layout. You got a center hallway, you got apartments on both sides. When you go in the apartment, there's going to be 2 to 3 bedrooms, a bathroom, and whatnot. But you walk into the front door of a 20,000 square foot house that's 4 stories on the back and 2 stories on the front. And you have no idea where the bedrooms are, the layout. I mean, there may be a pool in the basement. There's an elevator shaft. There may be a wine cellar. There's all these things that we have to think about when it comes to these super large, we call them McMansions on the water. But along with that, I mean, the commercial development in town has gotten, totally different. The landscape has changed there as well. The multifamily dwellings are changing. They're getting bigger. They're larger. We used to have, a 2-story apartment building was a pretty big deal for us. Now we've got 5-story and 6-story apartment buildings. So,
Right.
The landscape has totally changed. The marinas now pose a totally different problem than they did
Exactly.
back in the day. I mean, you might have a dock that's 1,000 feet off the shore. So that's 1,000 feet of hose you got to put on the ground. It takes 200 feet of hose to get to the beginning of the dock. So that's very manpower intensive, and a lot of hose we got to carry on the truck, and a lot of hose you got to get in place and then get out there to that $100,000 boat that's burning.
So tell me about our water supply here in town. I know we've got the endless amounts of water in Lake
Correct.
Norman,
Right.
but how do we address that? Are they better in some parts of town than others?
Yeah. So, as new development comes, comes new changes in Charlotte Water's protocols. So they're putting in larger water mains now. Some of your older parts of town still have the smaller water mains, but they do the job for us. The problems that we have had are at the end of your peninsulas, your Bethel Church, Juton Road, Torrance Chapel. As those water lines get further out the peninsula, they decrease, and they have to for the water quality. And if you remember, years ago there was vacation homes out there, not 10,000 square foot houses. So the water lines were put in for the smaller homes back in the day. So what we've done, the town and the fire department partnered in 2010 to buy a fireboat. The fireboat can pump 2,000 gallons a minute. We also are partners with Denver Fire Department on the other side of the lake. So if there's a fire within 800 feet of a shoreline anywhere in the town of Cornelius, we get dispatched, obviously, and then Denver Fireboat gets dispatched with us automatically. So they come over and they can provide mutual aid, and they can provide fire support, and we do the same thing for them. So that's just one way we've combated that.
Fantastic. And you do have those mutual aid agreements
Oh, yeah.
with all of our surrounding fire departments.
Mhm.
How far out does that go?
So we go into, if there is a fire in Davison, we're going anywhere in the Davison town limits. We go Huntersville to about Gilead Road, exit 23. We respond with them there. Huntersville's got 4 fire stations now. So where we used to go all the way down to Verhoff Drive and North Mac High School and all that years ago, obviously we don't go that far anymore because they've beefed up their fire protection in Huntersville. So
Right.
a good bit of the north end of the county. So basically exit 23 north.
Gotcha. So how far north?
To the county line.
To the county line.
Yeah. If there's a large fire in the south end of Iredell County and they call what we call a 2 alarm, where they need a lot more manpower, they'll call us in. but we don't go up there on an automatic aid.
Gotcha.
It's just
Gotcha.
a mutual thing if they actually have a real fire and they need some help.
So, all your fire departments, do you have varying types of equipment to fight certain types of fires, or do you all basically have the same equipment?
It's all basically the same stuff. So I mean, there's your basic trucks are engine companies. Those are the trucks that carry the hose and the water. Those are the guys that go in and put the fire out, or they establish a water supply. Then you have ladder companies. Those are the trucks. Those guys get there. They'll go in and search for victims. They'll ladder the building, try to rescue people from upper floors. They'll throw a ladder to the roof, cut a hole in the roof to let the smoke out. It just makes it more tenable for the people that may be trapped inside. It also makes it more easier for the firemen to go in, because once the smoke lifts, then you can see the fire. Because typically in a fire, you can't see your hand in front of your face. It's very dense, very thick smoke. Once that smoke lifts, it allows you to find the fire and extinguish it easier. And it makes it a little bit more tenable because the temperatures go down as well. You're basically creating a chimney.
Right.
So everybody has engine companies, everybody has ladder companies, and then we also have a rescue company in Cornelius that we use for the interstate response. That's what we do. The majority of the work we do out of that is motor vehicle collisions where somebody may be entrapped. But we're prepared for anything. We're prepared for water rescues, rope rescues. Somebody gets injured on the third floor of one of these construction sites. If they physically, we can't get them down a stairwell, we can lower them with ropes, so on and so forth.
So talk about your equipment, because I think this is a good topic to certainly hone in on as it relates to the future. So back in the early days, how did you get your equipment? Did the town buy it, or did you buy it yourself, or did we participate, or how did that work going back in the earlier years?
Years ago, there was a lot of chicken barbecue sales.
I remember. I was about every one of them.
That was so the county always provided some funding. The town always provided some funding. But there was a lot of fundraisers done by the early, ancestors of the fire department, if you want to call it that. But lots of fundraising. We still even send out a donation letter once a year. That was a big fund drive. So years ago, the guys used to go up there and they'd print these things out and they'd write out the address and put the stamp on the envelope. And we pay somebody to do it now because it's a lot more intense than it was back in the day. But they did a lot of fundraising, a lot of fund drives. There was a women's auxiliary years ago where the wives of the firemen, it really was a family business back in the day. They would do bake sales and so on and so forth. So lots of fundraising in the early years.
Fantastic. We got any more events coming up like that? I love them.
No.
It's a little bit of work, isn't it?
It's a lot of work, and as busy as we are now, and with staffing now, you just don't have the people that have the time to dedicate to running an all-day chicken barbecue event.
I'll run a bake sale for you.
Yeah.
There you go.
But you got to find somebody that can bake.
I can't, so we're out of luck.
Yeah, so
we can figure that out.
That's right.
Trust me, we can definitely do that. So it's been a shared experience, and but the future's changing, and we're going to get into that topic really once we get into the next quadrant of our show. And I think that's important for our listeners to know exactly how that works for the future and what our plans are for the future. So think about your questions, audience, and call us at 844-STUDIO-4, 844-STUDIO-4. Happy to entertain your questions. This is Mayor Woody Washam from Cornelius, and we'll be right back.
More About Town with Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam is coming up on the new 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Listen up, Carolinas. It's Jeep Adventure Days at the #1 Jeep and Ram dealer, Lake Norman Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Our new dealership has the largest new Jeep inventory in the country, and we guarantee to beat any deal in the nation. I-77 exit 28, LakeNormanChrysler.com.
And now we'll look at your weather forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. It's going to be a beautiful Thursday out there today. Mostly sunny skies. Your afternoon high nearing 80 degrees. As we head into the afternoon and evening hour, we will still be looking at mostly clear conditions, with the overnight low dropping to around 58. This is your weather report from the WSIC Weather Center.
Imagine being the envy of the neighborhood as you step onto your lush, vibrant lawn. Now, make that dream a reality with Drum Landscape Supply's personalized lawn plans. Say goodbye to all the guesswork and hello to your picture-perfect lawn from Drum Landscape Supply. Visit drumlandscapesupply.com today and collaborate with our experts. We'll create a plan tailored to your lawn's unique needs. Drum Landscape Supply, where dreams of the perfect lawn come to life. Visit us online at drumlandscapesupply.com and experience the difference.
In life, we plan for many important things. Weddings, our children's education, retirement. A celebration of life is really no different. Planning and paying for your life celebration in advance will give you and your family valuable peace of mind. We'll help you take care of every detail with professionalism and compassion. We're Bunch Johnson Funeral Home. Find us at dignitymemorial.com.
Did you know that feeling sluggish or weighed down could be signs that your digestive system isn't working at its best? But taking Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil supports your daily digestive health using a special plant-based fiber called psyllium. Psyllium works by forming a gel in your digestive system to trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Metamucil's gelling action also helps to promote heart health and slows down sugar absorption to promote healthy blood sugar levels. Start feeling lighter and more energetic by taking Metamucil every day.
At Grainger, we're for the ones who pay attention to every little detail, the ones who fuss, tinker, and sweat the small stuff. Because you know the tiniest thing can make the biggest difference when it comes to keeping business moving. We get it. We're the same way, offering access to product experts to help you quickly and easily find what you need. So whatever your industry, you know you're always getting professional-grade products. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
About Town continues now. Here's your host, Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam, on the new 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Good morning again for our next segment of About Town with Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam. It's a pleasure to be with you, and my guest today are Cornelius Fire Chief Guerry Barbee and our communications manager, Maylin Joyner. So welcome back, folks. And I think we actually have a caller out there. So let's go next to our caller, and then we'll come back to our topic here. So, William, are you out there?
Yes, sir. Thank you for spending a little bit of airtime with me today.
Absolutely. What's your question, sir?
Well, first of all, I want to commend the fire workers for this past 9/11 that we remembered earlier this week. And if it wasn't for you folks, I don't know what us private citizens would do, because you guys are appreciated and well needed. And we're glad that you're out there and giving us the service that you do.
Thank you, sir.
Great. My question is, with the market, with the lithium batteries, I don't know that much about them, but I do know that they're pretty high energy batteries, and there's some difficulties when fires happen with those type of batteries. And I'm learning that maybe some of those fires that are started with lithium batteries, take the car, for example, the Elon Musk car, the Tesla, it's improper use, whether it be putting chargers the wrong way or whatever kind of thing, possibly could start fires. But nonetheless, fires happen. So my question is do you know yet if there's going to be a fire extinguisher possibly on the market that would help put those fires out in the event that it happens before you guys can get to the scene?
The one thing I can tell you, there's a ton of research going into the lithium battery fires right now. We do know, and we are finding throughout the nation, that it's taking copious amounts of water to extinguish the fires. There are actually some fire departments in Europe that are carrying basically a roll-off dumpster truck now that has a crane on it. They can put the car in the roll-off dumpster and just fill that full of water. It's becoming quite an issue. I know New York City is facing a rash of lithium battery fires right now. Most of what you just said is correct with the improper charging or charging of the batteries too long. I know in the Charlotte Fire Department, anytime we have anything lithium battery, they send a hazmat response as well. So as far as the market now with a current fire extinguisher, nothing that I'm aware of. I know it's being researched very heavily, and it is definitely becoming quite a new problem in the fire service, and one that we're having to learn to combat in different ways to extinguish. There's even a blanket now that is out on the market now to basically smother a car with this blanket to try to keep it from, because the water's just not doing a job. So.
Well, Chief, in your first responder role, as well as in your fireman's role, you have a lot of calls going on up and down I-77, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
So,
a lot, yeah.
So what typically is causing that activity? Is it wrecks or what brings the most attention to your folks from there?
Wrecks all the time on I-77, whether it's a minor fender bender where somebody's complaining of neck pain to, a multi-vehicle accident where somebody may be entrapped in a car.
Right, exactly. So, William, anything else from you before we move on?
Well, I just wanted to add to it that's probably what it is for right now, until we get something on the market. It sounds like there are a few options there available already, but until we do, we're just going to have to really emphasize on the fact that proper usage of these vehicles or pieces of tools or machinery that are having those lithium batteries in them, that we just need to properly charge them. I, for one, don't leave something on charge for a long period of time. I just try to charge it till it peaks out and then take the charger off. So just try to get in that mindset and that habit form, and maybe that'll help reduce some of these fires that possibly happen.
Exactly.
You can ask my children, and that's the standard in my house is you leave it on for a very short time and then you take it off.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for calling, William.
Thank you, sir.
Other callers are welcome out there, and you can dial 844-STUDIO-4, 844-788-3464, and we'll be happy to entertain your questions here with the fire chief and our communications manager. So there's some big things happening in our town, Chief, and I want you to give a little history of how this occurred. It's difficult in these kind of times to remain a volunteer fire department.
Correct.
So the town of Cornelius is in the middle of a transition.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us how this came about and why it came about and why it's needed and why it's necessary to move us into the future here in our town.
Yep. So as we discussed earlier, in the year 2000, that was 23 years ago now, as hard as that sounds, 23 years ago, we noted that, your volunteers just can't keep up with the call volume, especially, guys couldn't leave their jobs anymore to run a fire. They definitely couldn't do it 7 times a day. So even back then, Jamie Baumgartner was the fire chief. He was succeeded by Willie Cobb.
Yes.
These guys set in motion the part-time pay plan for our firefighters to ensure that we had coverage during the day when the volunteers weren't around. My father, Jim Barbee, actually came in after Willie, and we started doing nighttime staffing as well, just because when you run 3 or 4 calls in the middle of the night, guys still have jobs and they still have lives. They couldn't get up in the middle of the night and run that volunteer call anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to a 24-hour around-the-clock model for part-time staffing. As we continued to grow and the town grew and the call volume got higher, the other fire departments around us, the same thing happened with them. Their populations got bigger, their call volume went up. They started paying people part-time. So the market, the pool of candidates that we had for part-time staffing started to dwindle as well. There's also been a generational change. Guys don't want to come out of high school and be volunteer firemen or firemen at all anymore. They want to go to college for 4 years and come out making $100,000. That's not going to happen in the fire service. So it's been a generational problem as well. So for years you had my father and Chief Neil Smith, who was my predecessor, tried to emphasize the need for more staffing, to start doing maybe some full-time staffing. In the year 2018, the town board hired through the International County Managers Association. They hired a group called the Center for Public Safety Management to come in and do a study. And that study came in and basically verified everything that Chief Smith and Chief Jim Barbee had been saying for years, that yes, the town needs full-time firemen or firefighters. I've got to be politically correct. I'm sorry. The town needs full-time firefighters, just for the simple fact that the part-time staffing, the volunteerism throughout the nation has gone away. So we put a plan in play, a 15-year transition plan that you spoke about earlier. It's a slow process, but it's very fiscally responsible. It's not a shock to the taxpayer system. CPSM wanted to hire like 45 people in 3 years, and that was going to be quite a shock to the payroll department. So we put a 15-year plan in play. We're still going to keep utilizing our wonderful dedicated part-time staff that we have now. We've supplemented it with now 12 full-time career firefighters. That's 4 per shift across 3 shifts. They work 24-hour shifts. We're looking to hire our first full-time training captain, and hopefully in this year's budget that's coming up, FY25, looking for some more political support from our politicians to grow the full-time staff some more. So.
Exactly. Well, it keeps moving. What are we up to now with our full-time staff?
We're at 12 now, looking to hire that full-time training captain. That'll put us at 13.
Right.
And then my position will become a town's position January 1st as well. So we'll have 12 shift personnel and then 2 administrative staff.
Yeah, that's been quite an evolution and quite a discussion at the town board level. But we have to keep pushing this because public safety is everyone's number one priority. I know transportation's up there too, and roads for sure.
Yeah, we pale in comparison to transportation right now.
Well, I'm not sure because you can't have one without the other, and they go hand in hand. And people want a safe community. I know that's certainly important to everyone. But we are moving through the process. It's a long process. I tend to think it's probably a little too long. And if we could figure out ways, and I hope we can, to speed that up, that's been a priority of mine for a long time. So I don't think we can do enough for our public safety employees and our administrators to keep them around and to make sure they're around because, our town isn't safe without them. So I know that's what our citizens are looking for.
That's what they expect for sure.
That's what they expect, and that's just fundamental, I think, to most folks. So that's going to be interesting to see that evolve, and certainly my desire, and I think some of my colleagues would be to crank that time frame up just a little bit. So stand by, Chief, and we'll see how that works out as we go into the future budget years in the next couple of years. I think that's going to be instrumental. So as we move forward into the future, I know this is an evolving event, so I want to come back in our next segment and really talk about the future of the Cornelius Fire Department, because there'll be a day very soon that it will be a department of the town of Cornelius. Davidson's already made that transition, and I'm happy to say that we're right on their heels, and I expect Huntersville and others to be right behind that. So anyway, we always set the pace here in our town, so we're going to move this forward. So more to come from About Town with Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam, and we will be right back.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Enjoy exploring the many musical talents of others? Kane Center for the Arts in Cornelius is hosting the LKN Songwriters Showcase this Saturday. Davidson Mayor Rusty Knox will be among the performers. The LKN Songwriters Showcase this Saturday. For more info, visit kanearts.org. That's CAINarts.org. Less than 2 weeks until Huntersville Hay Day. the sesquicentennial celebration for the town of Huntersville, Saturday, September 23rd from 2 until 8 p.m. at Huntersville Athletic Park. Come celebrate Huntersville's 150th birthday, Saturday, September 23rd. For more info, visit huntersville.org. Not much time left for apple picking at Kerrigan Farms. The apple picking at Kerrigan Farms is a very short window. Apple picking will end September 30th. Apple picking at Kerrigan Farms, only in September. Book your experience now at kerriganfarms.com. That's kerriganfarms.com. Have an event you would like to tell people about? Yard sales, estate sales, and everything in between? Visit WSICnews.com and click on events to submit your event today.
The Renaissance Festival is back! Saturdays and Sundays, September 30th through November 19th. A non-stop outdoor family adventure. Huzzah! Tickets available online only at renfestinfo.com while supplies last. The Carolina Renaissance Festival is sponsored by Sunbelt Rentals. For all your equipment rental needs, equipment service guaranteed. Huzzah!
And now a look at your weather forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. It's going to be a beautiful Thursday out there today. Mostly sunny skies. Your afternoon high nearing 80 degrees. As we head into the afternoon and evening hour, we will still be looking at mostly clear conditions with the overnight low dropping to around 58. This is your weather report from the WSIC Weather Center.
Now more About Town with Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam on the new 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Good morning again. This is Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam, and we are back with About Town, and we are traveling today to the Cornelius-Lemley Volunteer Fire Department with Chief Guerry Barbee. And also with me today is our communication manager, Maylin Joyner. So, Maylin, you do a lot of corresponding and surveying of our town citizens.
Yes, sir.
So, how important is public safety and actually, specifically, I guess, our fire services and medic and all that to our citizens? What's your opinion of that?
It's critical. Year over year, we host the FY, next one coming up is 25 budget survey. And we ask citizens to rank their priorities whenever it comes to different expenditures that we can fund. And it's always transportation, it's always public safety at the very top. Now, we don't split up our public safety into police and fire specifically, but we do allow people to comment on their priorities. And, you know, everyone is fully supportive of the fire department whenever we do open up those comments.
Exactly. And I think that's something that if we are looking at our tax rate or what people pay for, personally have never seen a pushback when it relates to keeping our town safe or building roads, additional roads. So I can certainly validate what you're saying. So that brings us to the future of the Cornelius Fire Department, Chief Barbee. We've evolved a lot. How many employees are you up to now, and how many employees does it really take? Do you have enough?
So right now, you know, with the addition of the full-time staffing, we've got about 80 part-time firefighters that we still rely heavily on for the majority of our staffing. So our goal is 12 firefighters a day, 4 on 3 different trucks. We do okay with that staffing. We're probably in the 70% coverage rate. Our old goal was 10 per day. We're knocking that out of the park now. With the addition of the full-time staffing. So eventually, the full build-out of the fire transition plan, you'll end up with 17 firefighters on duty a day.
Gotcha.
So NFPA's, the National Fire Protection Agency, or Association, sorry, they have a thing called 1710, which is basically the year's worth of research through the National Institute of Safety and Technology. That's the number of manpower that they say it takes to put out a 2,000 square foot house fire. So that's what we set our model upon, was 17. They say it takes 28 for a multifamily building, so any kind of apartment building or anything like that. that's where we would rely heavily on our mutual aid partners to come in from Davison or Huntersville and even further away.
Well, it certainly takes updating and replacing fire equipment too.
Oh yeah,
as in your fire trucks. I think we've
Right.
got one on order right now, don't
We
we?
got two.
Got two on order.
Yes,
That's right. I forgot that one of them hadn't arrived yet. So one of them's a little ahead of the other one, right?
Just by a couple weeks. So we're hoping in the second week of October to go do the final inspection on those trucks.
So we got delayed back in the shortage of
COVID.
Everything.
Yeah, the supply chain issues
Whatever
that
that
plague the
means.
nation.
That just put us behind, and
Yes.
that's why they're running so close together. But
Correct.
so how much does a fire truck cost, fully equipped and sort of turnkey, roughly? I'm not going to hold you to it.
In today's day and age, you're looking at close to $1 million for an engine company.
Yeah, it just blows your mind, and I don't think most of our citizens realize that.
They don't, but and at the same time, you have to realize you're making a 20-year investment. The trucks that we're replacing, one is a 2001 model, the other one's a 2005 model.
Gotcha.
So we're replacing some very aged equipment. You got to look at the overall lifespan of the truck and how much you're spending in repairing it. And at one point in time, it just becomes to where it's actually cheaper maintenance-wise to purchase a new rig so that you're not spending money constantly on repairing the older trucks.
So what do you do with when you take a truck out of service? What do you do with it?
You can sell it and put it on the market.
And who do you sell it to?
Other fire departments.
Gotcha. that would make sense.
Yeah,
the usage is a little bit limited,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. So a lot of our truck would make a very good. The trucks we're going to sell, they're still in great shape. I mean, obviously we maintain them. We still run them all the time. So it would be a very good truck for a smaller town or maybe a rural fire department, North Carolina, anywhere across the nation, really. So there is a, unfortunately now with the cost of new apparatus, the used market for fire apparatus is skyrocketing. Just because, I just told you an engine company in 2001 cost $300,000. Here we are, 22 years later, and we're talking about $1 million. So, your small rural community can't afford $1 million fire truck.
Exactly.
So what they'll do is they'll look to the larger municipalities to look at the used truck market, and hopefully they can pick one up for $100,000, and it'll last them and serve the purpose for them.
And that gets a little bit of an offset back to us.
Absolutely,
to
yeah.
Maybe upfit it and do some special things
Right.
that we need here. Because I think the lake probably makes us a little bit unique with what our needs are.
Oh, for sure.
Is that a true statement?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the amount of shoreline that we have, like we talked about earlier, the water supply in the peninsulas not being as good as we need it for the larger structures. We definitely have quite a different fire problem than a lot of different municipalities throughout the state.
Exactly, and most people don't know the fact that the town of Cornelius has nearly 75 miles of shoreline on beautiful Lake Norman. That is a lot of shoreline.
It's the most out of any municipality on the lake. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible, and that definitely makes us unique and challenging as well. So we have to keep that aspect in mind as we move into the futures, because the lake isn't going away.
No.
The needs aren't going away, and our town is growing somewhat still.
Correct.
So not like it once was, but certainly it's moving forward with some projects coming about.
Right.
So we'll see how that works out. So we sit here now, Chief, with 2 fire stations in the town of Cornelius, and they're beautiful, and they seem to be fairly well equipped and modernized to meet our needs. So is that enough for our town? Do you foresee another one in need in the foreseeable future?
Yeah, part of that CPSM study that we did back in 2018, they did talk about the need for a third fire station eventually. Your response times typically drive the need. Right now, we're doing really good with response times. I do think that in the very, probably in the next 5 years, we need to look at a fire station in the Westmoreland 77 area. But like I said, we keep watching the data. Obviously I pound you guys with data every year about response times and manpower and so on and so forth. So once we start seeing that need, you'll definitely hear a little bit more from me. we'll bump that CIP request up a little bit.
Exactly. Well, we really need the data because when you're spending taxpayers' dollars, it is critical.
Correct.
To understand why you're doing that.
Right.
And you always give us a good case.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think this fire department would be where it is today without you, and certainly your dad and some of your predecessors doing the same thing. But you do a stellar job at that, and make a good case for what you asked for. You just aren't pulling it out of the blue sky. That is for sure. So as we move into the future with this transition and the uniqueness and expectations of the town, I think that's one thing that makes our public safety operation here in town, that would include police and fire,
mm-hmm.
pretty special, is the expectations of our citizens. Y'all go beyond the call of duty. I know you do, to perform things based on what we call the Cornelius way.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that's a different approach. It's hard to explain that. So am I right about saying your guys do understand what that means and
absolutely
can translate that?
Yeah, first and foremost, my wife and my children and my mother and father live in this town.
Yes.
So, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that this town's safe for them.
Right.
I've got friends, lifelong friends that live in this town, so I'm going to do everything to make sure that my family and friends are taken care of. And, obviously the rest of the citizens around us as well. It's an obligation that we take very seriously, is to make sure that we are the best that we can be for our town and our citizens.
And I think for those of you that don't live in Cornelius and experience this wonderful service you get, the Cornelius way, it just simply is going beyond the call of duty, to do things a little bit different, to do things a little bit more special, to make our citizens feel special, and make sure they believe that they're served to the ultimate here in this town. I don't think they can get better service from public safety personnel, really anywhere in the country.
Yeah, we're blessed at the fire department for the simple fact that we have a lot of guys that are dedicated to the passion of the fire service. They're not just employees. It's not just a job to them. This is something they've dedicated their lives and their careers to, and they all want to make sure that they're the best they could be at it. So we're extremely blessed with the experience that we pull, from our part-time staff, and they are really driving that home into our new full-time firefighters as well. So we've got a great staff. We've got guys that teach all over the nation, teach firefighting all over the nation. Awesome. and different skills, and that are, like I told you earlier, I work at a very busy fire station in the city, and there's a lot of other guys that do as well. So our staff is wonderful, and it's an extremely dedicated staff that like I said, is dedicated to the passion of the fire service. It's not just a job.
A lot going on, not going on with the Cornelius-Lemley Fire Department, but there's a lot more going on in town. Give us a quick rundown, Maylin, with what's coming up.
There is so much. All right, we have Praise in the Park this Saturday at Smithville Park. That's from 5 to 9 p.m. The festival benefits the Ozzie and Martin Rivens Scholarship Foundation. 23rd Annual All-American Dog Show is coming up on October 1st at Robbins Park, and we have the 11th Annual Laketoberfest on October 14th at Bailey Road Park. You also have a Wednesday with Woody coming up at Waterbean Coffee.
Absolutely. Come on out, folks. Love to see you.
That is September 20th. And you have a transportation funding task force meeting tomorrow with Senator Vicky Sawyer, don't you?
Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chief Guerry Barbee. You've enlightened us all. We thank you for your service. We thank you for your commitment to our town. Thanks also to our communications manager, Maylin Joyner. This is Mayor Woody Washam. It's been a great day in Cornelius. The sun is shining. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.